Looking for something?
It would have been impossible to guess at this moment in 1939 that Humphrey Bogart, here playing Dr. X in this really awful horror movie, would eventually become the most iconic actor in the history of the cinema. By this point, Bogart had already made something like 40 films, most as a contract player for Warner Brothers. He was never a leading man. Warner cast him almost exclusively as villains, usually gangsters, in the gangster pictures that flourished in the 1930s. Bogart was a constant presence in that decade, but a minor one.
You got it all figured out, ain't you?
But in the 1940s, everything changed. It started with this movie, High Sierra, and a leading role that Bogart's contemporary George Raft turned down because he was tired of being typecast as a gangster. The character was Mad Dog Roy Earl, a thief who's just been let out of jail and agrees to do one last job. High Sierra is a kind of coda on the fading gangster era, and maybe because he played so many of these characters, Bogart lends the perfect world weariness to a story that seems fated to end in tragedy. Earl is hardened but sympathetic, or at least you get the sense that he wants to believe there's something sympathetic in himself, even after all he's done. High Sierra was a hit, and it began a new phase in Bogart's career.
Sorry I got up on my hind legs, boys, but you fellas trying to rope me made me nervous. Miles getting bumped off upset me, and then you birds cracking foxy, but it's all right now that I know what it's all about.
The same year he helped Hollywood say goodbye to the 30s gangster picture, Bogart introduced the world to film noir with the Maltese Falcon. This was the first of Bogart's truly iconic roles, private detective Sam Spade, in John Huston's directorial debut, and it was another part turned down by George Raft.
And the only chance I've got of catching them and tying them up and bringing them in is by staying as far away as possible from you and the police, because you'd only gum up the works. You getting this all right, son, or am I going too fast for you?
The character of the hard-boiled, wisecracking PI is archetypal now. It's thrilling to watch Bogart create it for the movies with the help of Huston's script from the Hammett novel and his inspired direction. Bogey is the tough guy again, this time on the other side of the law. But in Sam Spade, he finds another layer of vulnerability, especially in the astonishing final minutes.
You'll never understand me, but I'll try once and then give it up.
See, Bogart's genius wasn't in his range as an actor. He didn't have much, and as a star of the golden era, he wasn't allowed it anyway. But what Bogart lacked in variety, he made up for in depth. He went inward. He took the type he was so well known for, the cynical, the bruised, the world-weary, but still hopeful man, and mined it. A year after the Maltese Falcon, in 1942, he starred in Casablanca, and no one could have pulled off Rick Blaine like Bogart. Rick is a tricky part. The first half hour of the movie calls for him to be cold, bitter, and generally unlikable, traits that ought to distance us from the character. Yet somehow Bogey draws us in. That's because he brings a naturalism to the part that enlivens the otherwise cliché elements of the story.
I'd stick my neck out for nobody.
His cynicism isn't just cynicism. It's a shield, only the topmost layer concealing pain underneath. And how does Bogart let us into this pain? Through his eyes. Without any action at all, he's totally transparent to the viewer, so that even the slightest twitch in his face feels like an earthquake. With Casablanca, Bogart added romantic lead to his repertoire, and he built on it in To Have and Have Not, the first of 4 films with his future wife, Lauren Bacall. Bogart wasn't the tall, handsome leading man like Cary Grant. His face was lined with years of hard drinking. Yet there's something attractive about a man whose coolness betrays an inner reservoir of feeling. In The Big Sleep, he brings this romantic chemistry to another classic private eye, Philip Marlowe.
I'm a private dick on a case. Perhaps I'm asking too much, although it doesn't seem too much to me, somehow.
And it's a testament to Bogart's charisma and director Howard Hawks that a story which is famously incomprehensible is still compulsively watchable.
Any more lip out of you, and I'll haul off and let you have it. If you know what's good for you, you won't monkey around with Fred C. Dobbs.
In The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, Bogart finds another gear. He plays a man prospecting for gold with 2 others. They strike it rich, but greed and paranoia tear them apart.
You know what I'm going to tell him? I'm going to tell him you tied me to a tree and made your getaway, taking all the goods, yours, mine, and his. So they'd be looking for you and not me.
While this is a new kind of role for Bogart, it's also a further exploration of the character he's been developing. In Casablanca and his Bacall films, the vulnerability he conceals under his tough guy shell emerges as love or compassion. In Sierra Madre, what's inside him eventually curdles and develops into madness and rage. His eyes burn with it.
Go ahead, brub. Squeeze harder. You love her, and she's deceived you. You hate her patronizing attitude. She looks down on you. She's impressed with celebrities. She wants to get rid of you. You squeeze harder. Harder. Squeeze harder. It's wonderful to feel her throat crush under your arm.
Rob, stop it.
How did it hurt you tonight?
Things get even more disturbing in Nicholas Ray's In a Lonely Place, where Bogart plays a washed-up, boozy screenwriter who's wrongly accused of murder. You can see how the moral backbone of characters like Rick Blaine, Sam Spade, and Philip Marlowe kept them afloat, how hope provided stability. Lose that, and the cynicism starts to look a lot like sociopathy. Self-doubt becomes self-hatred, and that becomes a danger to others. Bogart knew, perhaps from experience, how easy it is to fall on either side of the coin.
Whose boat is this, anyway? I asked you on board because I was sorry for you on account of you losing your brother and all. What you get for feeling sorry for people. Well, I ain't sorry no more, you crazy psalm-singing, skitty old maid!
Bogart turned in more great performances in the 50s in movies like this one, The African Queen. But the 40s is where he became a legend. In 1957, at age 57, he died of esophageal cancer. In his life, he had the fortune to be involved with great projects and great directors, but they also had the fortune to be involved with Humphrey Bogart. He elevated and deepened all these movies, and he took his craft seriously. There were a lot of great actors in the golden era of Hollywood, but Bogart endures. You can see his talent, but there remains something mysterious about him, something that's as unexplainable in retrospect as it was impossible to predict in 1939. Something that's just true. I guess nothing in art survives for the better part of a century that isn't. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching. This episode was brought to you by Squarespace. If you don't know, you can use Squarespace to make beautiful websites for anything you might need. A personal site, a wedding website, a site for your business or portfolio, and in just a few clicks, you can have that website up and running. Their design team has crafted templates that work on computer browsers and on mobile, switching perfectly between the two. You can integrate your own photos and videos with just a few clicks, and you can even link your social accounts so that you can auto-post to Twitter and Facebook, all from within Squarespace. Head over to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/nerdwriter for 10% off your first purchase. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you next time.